hello, and welcome to the semifinals. Whew. Okay, so after a long, stressful week of team building and reviewing and scouting and getting engaged and all this other stuff, I'm here to play my semifinal game against Quincy and the Bug Catchers. Our week one opponent that we narrowly defeated. It was a 1-0 victory, well fought. Quincy prepped out of his mind, and that's been a theme for him all season long. So, in order to combat the super mega prepper that is Quincy and the Bug Catchers, we had to think about ways to get the Fargo Flygons a little out of the box this week. And I think the team that we came up with is pretty up to the task. Let's run through that right away real quick and just see what we're bringing. First and foremost, we're running Garchomp, but you'll see that this Garchomp is a little different than what we've ever done before. Assault Vest. This Garchomp can take a Life Orbed Draco Meteor, max roll, and live with like 0.3%. A max roll Draco does 99.7, so we live it with the Assault Vest, and then a Dragon Claw does a bunch of damage to that Latios. I also live things from Blastoise. It's a little more complicated. Charizard, some of his other threats that he has. Actually, we live on a couple of different things. So this is purely to help revenge kill some of the bigger special threats that he has. Also, with the 248 HP and the maxed out special defense, we are a thick boy. And Garchomp's base attack stat is like 130. So like the Earthquake, the Dragon Claw, the Stone Edge, and the Facade, little cheeky there in case the Amoonguss tries to like Toxic Stall us. This set is pretty scary. It is I think a good mix of defensive and offensive for what a Garchomp can be. We're purely on the physical side as far as offense is concerned. But we're here to hopefully surprise Quincy a little bit in a 1v1 that he thinks he can win. But I actually come out on top, hopefully. Next up in the lineup, Scizor is back off the bench. We're bringing Mordred back into the game, and we're choice banding her this week. I have yet to run a offensive Scizor that really, has the punch to just like kill things immediately without having to try and set up or do some of these other funny things. And I thought, you know what? Choice banded, technician boosted, adamant bullet punch sounds pretty freaking scary. And it does a ton of damage. Knockoff is good against his entire team. Dual Wing Beat actually hits his team pretty hard. U-Turn, surprisingly, is really, really good. And, lets us maybe sneak in and out without revealing that we're banded or something like that. 248 HP, 252 attack, 8 special defense. I don't want to run into things like Charizard or, some of his potential, hey, I've got a fire type move. Mystical Fire from Latios obliterates me. Gallade, if it runs fire punch, is really scary. Blastoise shouldn't be able to really touch me, and Shuckle and Amoonguss or whatever. I don't want to get put to sleep, and I don't want to get burned. So status conditions, we want to make sure that we avoid that. But I love this Scizor, and I can't wait to use it. Third in the lineup, we have our defensive boy, Arcanine Iskandar, back again with the Rocky Helmet and Intimidate set. Changed the nature to Impish this week. Fully defensive up and special attack down. Psychic Fangs, Crunch, Wild Charge, and Morning Sun. This is purely to eat up screens if for some reason he brings them. Crunch is there for the Corsola G. Wild Charge is there for things like Charizard and Blastoise. And then Morning Sun's just a little bit more longevity. This is a good check to Gallade. It's a good check to some of his other physical mons. And, we've got 248 HP, 8 in attack, and 252 in defense. So, defensive Arcanine, again, is really great, and I'm glad we have it on the team. Mon number 4 is our setup Sylveon. We've run this once before, and it did pretty well in that one game where we ran kind of the offensive-minded Sylveon. We've got the leftovers, Pixelate, Modest, so boosting that special attack. And we're running Hyper Voice and Mystical Fire. Those kind of fairy type kind of hits Quincy's team neutral across the board. There's a couple of resistances, but for the mons that do resist it, Hyper Voice, Mystical Fire is like another good middle ground attack. Calm Mind's there for our setup, and we can sub against a couple of different things. The Shuckle, the Amoonguss, potentially the Blastoise if it switches in and goes for a Shell Smash. We have kind of a way to deal with that. And yeah, 252 HP, 252 special attack, 4 special defense. This is a scary set, actually, and we're looking forward to using it this week. Mon number 5, Artoria, the Lantern. Pretty similar to last week. Leftovers, Water Absorb, Bold Nature. But we're running Discharge instead of Volt Switch, Ice Beam instead of Toxic. Obviously, we've got the Scald and the Protect. And then we maxed out the physical defense and the HP of the Lantern. So it's a thick boy, but not a split thick boy. It's just a one thick boy. And then special attack just gets the last 4 EVs. Lantern is here to help with the physical threats. Also can sit in front of Blastoise for a second. Maybe switches in on like a Hydro Pump and I get a nice Water Absorb or something like that. But I don't want to deal with things like Amoonguss. I don't want to deal things like the Latios. Those are not good for me. And then number 6, I mentioned that we had a plan for the Shell Smash Blastoise that seems to bring itself all the time. Sticky Web lowers speed. The White Herb fixes the speed lower, but then all of a sudden, what? You're going to Shell Smash and leave yourself with no defense? I'm just saying. So we've got Sticky Web, Thunder, Bug Buzz, and Volt Switch on Gilgamesh this week. Max special attack, max speed, Focus Sash so that we can live a hit, and then Compound Eyes just to make that Thunder come down a little bit more consistency. Timid Nature, we're going to go super fast. Actually, Galvantula hits a really good speed tier against him. At max speed, I'm faster than quite a bit. Not everything, but quite a bit. So we're definitely looking for speed control with the Sticky Webs. That'll be an early thing if we can get it, because he doesn't really have good removal that he's going to want to bring. He's not going to want to bring Rapid Spin Blastoise if he's going to Shell Smash. So if he has Rapid Spin, that means he's not offensive, and that's good for me. So a couple of reasons why we want to run the Sticky Web and make sure that we get hazards early, and that's part of it. So let's jump into the game. Quincy's team is extremely hard to prep for. It's super well balanced. And he's bringing Amoonguss, Shuckle, Latios, Charizard, Gallade, and Blastoise. Like you said, we've got the Lantern, Garchomp, Scizor, Sylveon, Arcanine, and Galvantula. For us to get into this game, I wanted to lead off with, something where I thought, okay, he's probably going to lead Shuckle. What does the most to a Shuckle, or what's got the best matchup against the Shuckle? Because I'm thinking he's going to go for hazards right away, right? Well, if he does that, then I can get 2 free bullet punches off and kill it. Banded Scizor does not kill the Shuckle, but like knockoff is not something it's going to appreciate. Bullet punch, like I said, does quite a bit of damage. And at the worst, we can U-turn out if it's not the Shuckle. And lo and behold, he leads Gallade. So I'm thinking, okay, this is pretty good for me. A neutral Gallade that hasn't tried to set up yet, hasn't done any crazy things yet. I don't know what it has. Let me adjust my toque here. Sorry, guys. But I'm feeling pretty comfortable, but I don't necessarily want to stand and take like a close combat or something. So I'm just going to go for a really safe U-turn. We thought about turn 1 for a very long time. I unfortunately get a crit. Sorry. I think that's the only hacks that we had in the entire game. which is great. We do 53% from a U-turn, which is super cool, and the red card triggers. So actually, we get Spooter Boy in really early against Shuckle, and we're just going to trade webs actually here, which is a bummer. I did not really think about hazards and hazard control in this game. Essentially, webs on both sides favors me, right? Because Blastoise doesn't want to switch in with a white herb and have it proc right away. So, all things considered, speed tiers for almost everything is the same, right? Because we're both going to have -1/-1. Except the Charizard and the Latios have levitate or flying, so they're not affected by it, which is a bummer. I have a Sylveon, an Arcanine, a Lantern, stuff that's not super fast to begin with, so like losing speed it's not that big of a deal. But where it does hurt is like the Galvantula now when I switch in isn't going to be the fastest thing on the field. The Garchomp loses the natural speed that it has. Scizor loses a little bit of speed in some matchups, but that's not really where it matters. So it's a little bit of a bummer for me. It's a pretty big bummer for Quincy, at least I think. And now I'm thinking, well, I mean, Shuckle can't really hurt me, right? Like, I'm just going to drop a Thunder and see how much it does. It does... Shuckle's so fat. Like, it just lives that. I know it's real, like, it's a rock type, but, like, damn. Damn. So it lives the Thunder, and he gets Stealth Rocks up. Back to the conversation about hazards. I have no defog. I have no rapid spin. So my only hope is that he decides that the sticky webs on his side of the field are a bigger bummer, and he wants to defog away with like Charizard or Latios or something, which I don't think is going to happen. So I think I'm going to have rocks and webs on my side of the field for good. Now, really, the only two that really don't like the rocks are Arcanine and Galvantula. Everybody else on my team is kind of like, meh, whatever. But the rocks against Galvantula break my sash. So, a little bit of an issue there. Webs also, like we said, we just had a big conversation about that. But now, okay, now I'm thinking, okay, we're just gonna deal with it. No use crying about it. I should have brought hazard removal, and I didn't. Didn't think Shuckle was going to be a big enough priority for him. He hasn't brought it in the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, I guess that was an oversight in my prep. But he goes for Stealth Rocks. I hit him with the Thunder. And now I'm like, okay, Volt Switch is going to kill this thing. So he goes for Protect, blocks the Volt Switch, which is fine. We're going to try it again. He sends in the Blastoise. And I'm like, perfect. We're going to hit him with a Volt Switch. He's going to have lower defense because he's going to want to Shell Smash and not be able to. His speed's going to lower, so the doesn't get as big of a speed boost. This is great. No white herb. Also, a Volt Switch did 34% to a Blastoise. Spoiler alert, everybody, he's Assault Vested, which, great planning. Really great planning. Doesn't care about the speed at all, and the Volt Switch he takes surprisingly well. So now I'm thinking, okay, let's just go into Lantern. An Assault Vested Blastoise can basically do nothing to me, right? I'm water absorbed, so Scald and Surf don't do anything. He's got to switch out, and I'm just going to fire off a Discharge because why not? Amoonguss eats it up, and now I'm seeing like Giga Drain does a lot, so I need to get out. And this is where Arcanine, bless your soul, you get slept, and the Charizard comes in. So now it's still knotted up. We're only on turn 8. This game is taking a little bit of time. Sorry, I'm scrolling on the wrong thing. And now I'm thinking, okay, well, what's a Charizard going to do to an Arcanine, right? He's got probably like Solar Beam or something, or Weather Ball, trying to like capitalize off of the rain that I could bring. He's probably got a Fire-type move. Like, none of this really scares me, right? He might have Focus Blast, which does like 50-some, 60-some% damage. So, but I'm like, whatever, right? I'll just click Wild Charge. I'll probably live whatever he hits me with, and if I get a turn 1 Wake Up, great. If not, we probably lose the Arcanine, or maybe we resist it and we're living. So I don't do anything. I just click Wild Charge, and he goes for Scorching Sands. Great play. Arcanine's done. It's dead. Unless I wake up here. And even if I do, I click Wild Charge, so there's going to be recoil damage. We're going to do a bunch to this Charizard, but we're going to die. I do not wake up, and he gets the kill with another Scorching Sands. And I make the ballsy play to go into my Lantern. He's up 6-5, and I'm like, okay, Scorching Sands is going to hurt, but I'm going to live, and Charizard does not want to take a Scald. Doesn't want to take a Discharge either. So I'm pretty, I'm feeling pretty okay in the spot I'm in. He goes into Gallade, which also doesn't want to get burned. So Scald here is still a great move. Yeah, he goes for Knockoff, takes my leftovers off. I'm going for Scald, fishing for that burn. Really just want to capitalize on my matchup here. It's what I want. Third Scald doesn't happen. Drain Punch is healing up. 4 Scalds later, no burn. I realize it's not a foregone conclusion that Scald is going to burn, but it's 30%. And we just did 4 of them. So 25% at the very least. 1 of 4 should do it. Which would have made this Gallade very, very, less effective. But no burn, so that's unfortunate. And now I kind of have to make the decision, okay, do I need Lantern anymore? Because I'm going to die if I stay in. Unless he goes for a bulk up again. I can't really let him go to +2. So I have to click Scald just in case. Or I could maybe go for Discharge and try to get a para. But in this circumstance, I figured that Burn was the better status move to go for. And it's good if he tries to switch in Charizard. It's good if he tries to switch in Shuckle. A status on a Latios or just a little bit of chip is good. Blastoise is, whatever. Amoonguss would eat it up. But, yeah, I just kind of have to make the play to say we're just going to click it again. And if I die, I die. Well, he goes for Drain Punch and kills me. So now he's up 6-4. Whoop, not 41. And now I have to make the decision to go into Sylveon. He's at +1. I'm at 88% after rocks. Close combat kills me. But I have to bank on the fact that he's only been using Drain Punch so far. And, the knockoff. So I have to essentially bank on the fact that he doesn't have close combat, or I'm dead, and the rest of my team probably gets destroyed here. But a Hyper Voice kills this thing. So I'm just gonna click it. He goes into Shuckle, thankfully, switches out, doesn't have the close combat. So he sacks off the Shuckle, and we're at 4-5, and I'm thinking, okay, we're getting into a groove here. We're gonna bring it back. He brings out Amoonguss, and now this is exactly what I'm looking for. I know I'm gonna be faster than Amoonguss because we're both in Sticky Webs. I would have been faster than Amoonguss anyway, unless he had like a bunch of speed investment, which you don't do on Amoonguss. So I know I'm going to be faster, and I know that he's probably going to go for Spore again to put this thing to sleep, and then be able to either switch out or Sludge Bomb or something like that. But he's going to want to put it to sleep first. So I know I'm faster. I know the spore is coming. I click substitute. And we make a great read. Spore doesn't happen, and now I have free reign to be able to hit Calm Mind. So now we're at +1/+1, and the special Charizard is in. And all we've seen is Scorching Sand so far, so I have no idea what this thing has. But I know that Overheat's going to do 40-ish%. It's probably going to break my sub, but I'm feeling okay to just like click Hyper Voice here. I didn't want to like just immediately go for Calm Mind again on the off chance that he had like Haze on the Charizard or something like that, or I don't know. I didn't want to also win by just like, hey, I'm gonna substitute and then just click Calm Mind a bunch of times and then just win that way. I didn't think that was like the fun way to win. I didn't want to do that. It felt sleazy, felt scummy, and I wanted to make sure that I could just, hit this thing as hard as I could. It's 4-5. I don't want to waste time. Flamethrower destroys the sub. So I later found out that the Charizard was Specs, which makes sense. Hyper Voice does 50%, which is great. And now he's going to go for another Flamethrower. I'm going to take a little bit of damage. And then Hyper Voice is going to kill. And now we're all tied up, boys and girls. And I've got a +1/+1 Sylveon that will live a Drain Punch. Surprisingly well, actually. And the Glade's not living a +1 Hyper Voice. So now we get into a little bit of double switching scenario. He baits the Hyper Voice. Great. Yep. Good play. And now I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got Mystical Fire for the Amoonguss. Let's just fire that off real quick. We could do the whole sub Calm Mind thing again, but like I'm really conscious of my health total. I want to make sure that if I, get into a 1v1 against like the Latios or the Blastoise, I can live a hit if there's no substitute and I'm going to be slower. So I didn't want to go lower in my health total at the moment. And then again, also, I didn't want to just like, hey, I know this thing can't touch me. I'm going to sub and Calm Mind a bunch again. I wanted to just like use Mystical Fire and win it with minimal setup, in my game plan. So I go for Mystical Fire, get the attack drop, great, not a big deal. He goes for Sunny Day. So I'm thinking, okay, there's something that he wants to set up for. Turns out Weather Ball Blastoise, which is in and eats the Mystical Fire. We get the special attack drop, which helps a little bit, and that Weather Ball does nothing. So we get a good little exchange here where I'm gonna just kill the Blastoise after a couple more hyper voices. And now the Amoonguss is going to come back in. It's going to use Protect. I'm going to go for Mystical Fire. Obviously, we're just going to kind of go back and forth and play this game a little bit. Mystical Fire does a bunch. And then he gets a Toxic off. So now we're in a Toxic stall scenario. I really don't want to sub out the Sylveon, so I'm just going to keep going for it. He needs a double Protect at this point, and to be able to keep switching and like eat the resistances. In hindsight, going for a Hyper Voice there, which is just as good in that scenario, would have been clutch. But we're just kind of firing things off. He's trying to whittle me down as much as possible. Needs to get a double Protect. And at some point here, I just say, okay, I'm just going to go for the +2. I know like this Mystical Fire will kill, but he gets the double Protect. So great play. The Hyper Voice would have killed at that point too. So that was the best move. Sylveon goes down to the Toxic from Amoonguss. And now I just get a Banded Scizor in that can click dual Wing Beat. And the Amoonguss dies right away. And now he goes for Thunderbolt. And I'm able to kill and win the game with a 3-0 with another dual Wing Beat. Mystical Fire from that Latios would have destroyed me. And we would have been in trouble had he had that instead of Thunderbolt. We did have Galvantula with Bug Buzz, which would have been great. I thought a little bit about sacking off Galvantula or Garchomp at that point so that I could get in and do bullet punches. But dual wing beat was going to be a kill no matter what. So it was kind of like a, I'll stay in. Why take the extra rocks damage? Why risk it? We'll just go for it. If he's got Mystical Fire, GG. If not, we win. So even though it was a 3-0, it was still very close. Quincy played great. And with that, boys and girls, we're in the championship. Holy crap. Yeah, just a wild ride here. And I'm super honored to be this far. I've got a lot of people to thank for helping me prep and get through this season. We're not done yet. I will play the winner of Garrett and DJ. Two of the absolute, best teams to watch this season. Garrett had some time in the beginning of the year where he was at the top, just running through teams, his out-of-the-box thinking. This was the championship game from last season, so obviously both great players. DJ started the season with a meme team and brought it back, and he's in the semifinal. So, to be honest with you, I don't want to play DJ. I would love to play Garrett. I would love to play DJ too. They both have such scary teams that it's kind of a wash either way, and it's going to be a great game. But we're 8-1. We're in the playoffs. Our team's been great with and without the Kingdrip Helper Rain Core, which was so scary. And I think we're getting things done in non-conventional ways. I'm playing really well, calcing really well, and we've definitely had to slog through a tough playoff here. Quincy, hats off to you, my man. Great season. Super fun to play you again. It's kind of cool that you started and ended your season against me. And this time I was able to squeak out a win, but I'm looking forward to our rematch, our round 3 in season 3. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to a championship, hopefully. We've got one more game to go, and I think we can get there. So for now, we'll just have to wait and see about who wins the other semifinal game, and then we'll hit the ground running for prep and hopefully be able to take home a W. So thanks for watching. Thanks for the support of the Fargo Flygons, and we'll see you next time.